We're back with Will. We're back with Will from Primabolics, talking about Estro.
Yeah.
Will, what is Estro? What is Estro?
Mate, I put this out. It's only been out recently, and I made it because something that I saw a lot in my travels was people who struggle with estrogen dominance in particular, but hormonal imbalance from a number of factors. And I think a lot of it was environmental burdens I'm seeing now tend to push us more towards lowering testosterone and increasing estrogen. I see it a lot, and that's in guys and girls. But what I saw a lot in my travels and seminars was that a lot of people are, experiencing symptoms from lower than optimal sort of testosterone and androgens, and higher estrogen. And it was particularly in guys, like people who are. Yeah, and it came from a whole lot of different backgrounds I didn't think I'd sort of see. People who are just, who had alcohol frequently, people who are drinkers, people with from a fat loss background, people with higher percentage of body fat as well. Then also in the female side of things, those using contraceptives. There was really, really interesting sort of cross-section of people, and I didn't have anything that could help them, sort of in the range yet. So I sat down and I thought, look, if I want to try and help people with shifting some stubborn body fat, with helping restore an optimal sort of hormonal profile, I need to make something to help with this estrogen problem that I'm seeing. So Estro was born from that, and I think the real sort of crux of that product is essentially in helping what our body should be doing by itself, but isn't anymore because of the environmental burdens. Right? I think in a perfect world, our body would be able to either detoxify or balance out or convert its own hormonal pathways fine. And basically in a perfect world, it should just run itself. But there isn't exactly a perfect world anymore. There's a lot of environmental factors. There's contraceptives being used wide scale now, alcohol, there's BPAs, plastics, cosmetics, pollutants. Like there's a whole, xeno and phytoestrogens from things like soy. There's a lot of these factors that are, really driving down testosterone, driving up estrogen, and the big elephant in the room is stress as well. Cortisol smashes testosterone and drives up estrogen as well. So there's a lot more things putting estrogen up than it is down. There's a lot more, so I'm finding that a lot of people then run into these sort of issues. So I made Estro to help in that space by basically, not like a lot of the formulas in the market were designed to try and block estrogen traditionally. A lot of people who had sort of seen estrogen supplements, it was around the blocking. That was sort of the most common thing I saw. Estrogen blockers were a common thing.
The thing about what was, and I want to make this a big point of this video, is estrogen is not a bad thing.
Oh God, no.
You do need estrogen. Like men, you need estrogen. Women, you need estrogen. It is actually one of the most anabolic hormones in the body, as well as the driver of synovial fluid. So the thing that keeps your joints lubricated.
Oh, massively important for bone growth, as well, for bone, integrity as well. So bones, joints, neuroprotective. Massively, it's a very strong MAO inhibitor. So it's really, really good for preventing things like Alzheimer's, and it's great for neural health, and it's very anabolic, like you said. A lot of your growth of everything, but muscle as well as fat, is from estrogen. It builds whole other humans in women. That's as anabolic as you get, is growing a whole person. So it's a really useful hormone for a million different pathways. So that's a good point, mate, is make sure that, like we've said before with cortisol and some other hormonal videos we've done here with Australian Muscle, hormones, a lot of these hormones are really, really useful when they're doing their job in the right, when they're present in the right ranges, and when everything's in an optimal range.
And that's the thing. This was made to detoxify estrogen. So you've got three main types of estrogen: estrogen, estrone, and estradiol.
Beautiful.
So obviously the most prevalent one, I think, is estrone. Estrone, I think, is the most prevalent one in a lot of people.
Yes, certainly.
But you've got, obviously, estradiol, which is a toxic type of, I believe it's estradiol. I can't. I can't remember. There's three kinds. My brain ain't no work no much.
Go diet.
I might need this actually. So there are
multiple forms of estrogen.
Multiple forms of estrogen, but obviously some are more healthier than others.
Yes, and some you want more, because I guess E2 estradiol is most commonly is the most commonly abundant form, and particularly I guess what's more important is having the right forms present doing their task, because I guess when we get a build-up of certain forms, then what they're doing is they're promoting exaggerated estrogenic activity. So just like we said before, that estrogen will promote some anabolic activity. It'll grow muscle, but it also grows fat. It also holds fluid because it wants to do all this for survival. It's proliferative. It builds things. It builds fat. It builds fluid. It builds connective tissue. It builds all these great things. But along with that comes things we don't always want, like body fat, particularly in very stubborn areas like lower stomach, love handles, lower back, triceps, glutes, hamstrings, lower chest in men, and particularly in guys, we see all the same things. Like this video is equally applicable to guys, particularly guys from a weight loss background, endomorphic guys as well. That body type particular usually has a bit higher, naturally occurring sort of predisposition for estrogen. So what we're trying to do is detoxify the excess estrogen in our system. We're trying to also optimize the ratio of the estrogens that are present to make sure that we're not having a huge amount of the wrong type of activity.
So we're trying to maintain homeostasis.
Bingo. We just want our body to be in balance. We don't do anything crazy. The whole point of this one is to assist detoxification. Now, your body's detox pathways, there's phase 1 and phase 2. There's 2 lines of defense, and they have to deal with every single thing you put in your mouth, every liquid you consume, every chemical you ever get passed through, everything that your body comes into contact daily, whether that's walk outside and you've got exhaust from cars, you've got things that you drink, things that you eat, anything you consume, anything that goes near your body or in your body has to be detoxified, dealt with, broken down, put into a water-soluble form, put through your liver and stripped out, right?
And one of the biggest things of toxicity is, heating stuff up in the microwave with plastic.
Bingo. And that's a really common one as well, like seeing like BPAs and plastics. When we're microwaving things in plastics, we're finding that there happens to, basically seeing BPAs liberated in our food, and they mimic estrogen in your body. Soy products as well. There's a Swedish study done in 2006 where they found that having 2 cups of soy milk a day was as influential on hormones as having the contraceptive pill. Crazy, right? Like these are really influential environmental factors that are at play. So perfect world, our body's detoxification system would go, okay, if we're out of whack, we should detoxify this excess hormone, run it through the liver in phase 2 detoxification. Life's good. We'll return to homeostasis. We're in balance. We stay in a nice little self-controlled loop. Everything's great. Like our hormones self-regulate to a large extent. The only problem is once we have all these environmental burdens that throw it out of whack, the same feedback loops that keep them in homeostasis, they keep them out. They're self-perpetuating loops. So, things before. For example, if we had too high testosterone previously, if we have too high test, our body will convert that to estrogen, right?
To go through aromatization.
Something that's very common with a lot of our enhanced athletes. You'll hear this quite often. Now, this is a perfectly healthy process. This is great. If our body has too high androgens, it wants to balance it. Our body's always trying to balance, right? But what happens if we have that build-up of the estrogen and our body doesn't have the ability to strip it out, if our detoxification systems are burdened dealing with all the stuff in our environment? So what I made Estro for, and to link all that back to what's relevant, is to help support those detoxification pathways that not only deal with all of the stuff we have in everyday life, but also with the hormonal balancing. To make it actually useful for to actually really help drive that phase 2 detox and really actually assist with the pathways that liberate excessive hormone or trying to get the wrong forms of hormones out in a sort of efficient manner. Get that clearance happening so that our body can continue to run those feedback loops, and we're just assisting strip it out at the end phase. We're trying to just get all our natural processes to happen, but assist them so that they can do what they do best. Is what it's about. So
all right, so we touched on what it does, what it was made. Let's go run through the actual ingredient profile of why you have personally made this. You have personally formulated. You sourced everything here. You went out to the wilderness. You tracked down.
I did.
You've done all this stuff. You went out with Indiana Jones, and you come back with a whole bunch of botanicals.
I did.
So let's just start off with the estrogen detoxification matrix. Cool name, by the way. Vitex. So Vitex interfera. A 10-to-1 ratio.
Vitex is the bomb. Well, I love Vitex. Vitex is less seen because people aren't game to use it because it's so potent. Vitex is probably the strongest herb that as a naturopath you'll use. Typically you'll see it's basically in ranges of about 250 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams is the typical dosage you'll see. Now what it does is it's an incredibly potent dopamine agonist. Now dopamine is responsible for a whole heap of great things. It's a neurotransmitter. So it's present in our brain it's our reward neurotransmitter. It gives us that feeling of reward and pride. It also drives our motivation. It basically gives you that feeling of just, it drives us towards goals. Once we get there, it gives us a big reward as well. It's really great.
That dopamine dump, like
yes, sort of vibe.
Yeah.
If everyone's had a good nootropic too, or a good pre-workout with the hypotyrosine, you know what we're talking about. Vitex is significantly stronger at doing that. Now, what that does is a positive, apart from giving you that really great enhancement of mood, which is something that when our hormones are out of whack, we very rarely don't. We don't normally have a good mood when our hormones are out of whack. What it'll do is it drops prolactin.
Okay, yeah. Prolactin is most prevalent in pregnant women.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
It's the lactation. Hormone. It's the lactation hormone.
It is. But funnily enough, it tends to get driven up in periods of high stress. It also gets driven up in periods like overtraining, like all the other things we've spoken about in our other videos tonight, where you'll have, it can be overtraining, can be under eating, poor diet, poor sleep, whatever it is. Stresses drive up prolactin too. Now, what prolactin does, it blunts the luteinizing hormone signaling pathway in our body.
Yep.
And that is a major part of our androgen production. So your body produces androgens by sending luteinizing hormone to the basically the testes to produce more testosterone.
Yep. And
our body can either use that to convert to estrogen in a happy world or use as testosterone. Now, if we have this, we have lots of stresses going on, we have lots of things happening, prolactin's creeping up, environmental factors too, estrogen's creeping up. What we do when we drop that prolactin with that Vitex is that we allow our body to basically drop that prolactin, boost that androgen production back up, and restore a really good ratio of androgens to estrogens, right? Okay. And this does a really big host of benefits, right? That's the technical answer. Cool things that does in real world felt effects. Helps massively with reducing PMS symptoms.
Good.
Massively. Because we're restoring balance. Whether you're too far androgenic or you're too far estrogenic, it sort of covers your ass either way. Because it helps restore the optimal ratio by sort of allowing those androgens to come back online. So if you suffer from things like endometriosis, which is way too estrogenic, that's just crippling amounts of estrogen. So you have debilitating migraines and bloating and cramping, and essentially half the month you're a write-off. Okay, this is a really debilitating sort of symptom picture. Or alternatively, polycystic ovarian syndrome, going more towards the androgenic side of things. Either way, Vitex helps.
Yep.
And quite pronounced. They found in studies it to be as effective as as some sort of pharmaceuticals for lowering things like prolactin. They found it to be a massive driver of relief in PMS symptoms. So really, really great if you find that in our female consumers listening to this video, great for relieving PMS, sort of the bloating, cramping, migraines, irregular periods, heavy periods. It also improves cycle regularity as well. So really, really great for clearing that up. In men, massive dopamine hits as well. And again, allowing us to produce those androgens more efficiently. So really, really great for guys and girls Vitex. But super potent herb, and it covers you wherever you are on the hormonal spectrum. Yep. It covers your ass basically. So it's a really cool plant. It's just it's overlooked because it's so potent. No one has really used it in recent history because it's quite. It alters your hormonal profile quite drastically. Yeah. So the way that and that's sort of the logic behind skipping a few steps on dosing, using this product because of the that really potent herb. I'd recommend if you suspect you have significant hormonal imbalances, use all 4 capsules at once, at least for the first bottle. The reason being, getting that big hit of Vitex in one go is going to put a massive corrective action in sort of balancing our hormones. But the best way to do a hormonal campaign, like we said, everything runs on loops. You want to try and break the loop and sort of kickstart things back in the way they should run. So you make an intervention, you throw in a very powerful herb, break the current cycle, and restart it, ideally. Make an alteration and let it go. So if you suspect that you have got significant sort of hormonal imbalances, then use all 4 capsules at once in this product. It says on there use 2 in the morning, 2 at night on the packaging, but in this particular case, because of the way Vitex runs, all 4, and probably before bed, because the way this product is sort of put together as well is quite handy.
Yeah. So if you're a female, you've got a very painful period, very painful cramps. You've got, maybe you have suffering some endometriosis like symptoms. That's when you would sort of use it.
Yeah, bingo. Yeah. And if you've got things like as well, weight gain or stubborn body fat, fluid retention as well. Basically, just being swollen, puffy, holding water, holding body fat. You're finding that your scale weight fluctuates significantly as well. Mood, irritability, irrationality, mood swings in particular. Finding it very, very hard to maintain positivity, like having low mood, depression, anxiety, stress. These sort of things are all very big indicators that hormones are out of whack. Yep. So they're sort of some really common symptom pieces to look for. Now, and also lesser known ones, if our nails and skin and hair, if our skin health is quite crappy, if we're finding we have hormonal acne, we're having breakouts. If our hair isn't growing as fast as it traditionally did as well. Nails as well, we find that our cuticle beds are starting to have splits as well, or our nails are weak and brittle. Again, all common signs that our sort of hormonal profile's not optimal.
I can guarantee some people just checked their nails when you said that.
Oh, 1,000,000%. You see it at someone else.
I think that's me. Yeah.
Now, and the reason behind that, particularly the nails and skin and hair thing, is that that's the thyroid pathway. They all play off each other, and as soon as you have higher estrogen, you have lower thyroid output. So you have a slower metabolism guaranteed as soon as your estrogen goes up. That's why you'll find that having a slow thyroid function is prevalent as hypothyroidism, so slow thyroid function, is found in 1 in 3 women versus 1 in 7 men. Estrogen has a bit of a dampener effect on our metabolic rate. So in this particular case, that's why I included iodine in there, for example.
Beautiful.
So
saw that.
iodine's the backbone of your thyroid hormone, and it's something that's very commonly deficient, particularly in Australian consumers listening to this video. Our soils are very old, and they're very nutrient depleted because they're so old. We don't have much iodine in a lot of our produce. It's very commonly deficient. Now, iodine you need for your metabolism to physically function. It's the backbone of your actual thyroid hormone.
Yeah.
So iodine in the formula was also thrown there for that reason, to help potentiate that sort of metabolic kick that we're going to do support, whilst also lowering that estrogen. So it's sort of a bit of a synergy that I threw in there for that reason, along with the zinc and the chromium too. And then I guess moving on, what else we got in there? Adrian, what else we got on our next category?
All right, so next up we have lemon balm ashwagandha.
Beautiful. Now this comes into the mood support.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah, look, these are commonalities. A lot of my products are made to be used together. So Restore, we did a video on Restore, and you'll see lemon balm and ashwagandha used in there as well for the same reasons. Now, I find that particularly, as I mentioned, symptoms of hormonal imbalances often are stress and anxiety. Super common.
Yep.
And I guess these things are beautiful at lowering cortisol, our body's stress hormone, and boosting mood, lowering stress, lowering perceived anxiety, boosting GABA as well, our feel-good neurotransmitters. Basically, that just helps you take a burden off, one, the actual felt effects of having a hormonal imbalance, feeling rubbish, feeling stressed and wrung out, running on gut intuition and gut feeling. Stops all that. And two, our adrenal glands, which produce our stress hormones, are also a lesser known source of producing our body's androgens and other hormones. It's just more so been focused on your adrenal glands producing cortisol recently, but about 20% of our sort of androgen production comes from our adrenal glands too. So if we take burden off your adrenal glands from producing cortisol and stress hormones all the time by putting in the ashwagandhas and lemon balms to sort of ease that side of things, we're no longer stealing resources that we should be putting towards making hormone to deal with stress. So that's the reason I put in ashwagandha and lemon balm.
Beautiful. Moving down the list, we have the detoxification and methylation support, N-acetylcysteine or NAC, vitamin B6 and vitamin B12. Now, N-acetylcysteine, this is used primarily by the liver.
It is. It's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful.
And a lot of people use this if they are using PEDs, of course, so they can detoxify their blood, detoxify their liver, everything like that. And vitamin B6 and B12, they are energy supporting.
They are.
They build energy at a cellular level. Is that why you've added them in there?
Look, I actually use forms of them. So what I wanted to do is driving that detoxification. As we said, the body does it all for you, but what you need to do is just give it support in the right places. So NAC will, a little bit of a kick. Support liver health with your NAC. NAC's also a precursor for glutathione production. Now, that's a really, really potent body's master antioxidant, brilliant in that space. But supports liver health so that it can really drive that detoxification of that estrogen metabolism. Methylated, I actually use methyl B12. So
methylcobalamin.
Yeah, bingo. And that is a methyl donor to, again, methylate and help strip out these excess hormones. So the reason those are in there are to act as a methyl donor, basically, as well as support liver health. So that's the reasoning behind that. But the detoxification support, we've got in there mood support and lowering that cortisol for the adrenal support. We've also got in there things to basically balance out all of the, drive that vitex with the actual hormonal balancing in the first place. And then finally, curcumin comes in and dampens inflammation in the gut, which is very common with, that's one thing we probably should have said before. Bloating, digestive issues, distension, super common with imbalances as well. So gut-based inflammation is super common too. So curcumin's in there to dampen that inflammation and also support phase 2 again. It drives sort of liver-based estrogen metabolism. So really cool ingredient.
Awesome. And then finishing off with the thyroid and metabolic support, zinc, chromium, and iodine.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Zinc and iodine, cofactors for all production of thyroid hormone. Brilliant little complex there to help support everything. So wrapping it all up, I guess this guy, Estro here, is available at Australian Muscle. Recommended retail is $89.95.
Yes, and we are stocking this very soon.
Bingo.
Yes.
So hopefully that gives you a bit more of a deep dive into how this formula is put together. But again, those stubborn body fat we're looking at, if you're looking to diet, if we're drinking alcohol regularly, if we're stressed, if we're finding any of those symptoms ticking off the boxes, hormonal imbalances, Estro is going to be your best friend. So guys and girls, super relevant product for either of you. So jumping on the website for Australian Muscle soon, will be available in no time at all.